everybody, and welcome back to the Pregame Network podcast. This is episode 61. I am your gracious host, Dan, joined by his bestest pal, Anthony, to talk about video
Hello.
games and what's going on in the industry. And
Mm-hmm.
once again, this is the only gaming podcast on the internet that's not afraid to offend people with their shitty hot takes. I will never stop.
Listen, my hot takes are always great. I'll keep saying it.
Mine can be shitty sometimes, but that's just the nature of
You
things.
shoot from the hip. You shoot from the hip.
Yeah. I do, like a lot. All right, so it's been an okay week. Not like that much news, but it's been all right. So I guess we'll just do this as we normally do and
Mm-hmm.
start talking about what we've been playing and then just kind of talk about what we want to after
Of
that.
course.
So
Oh yeah.
I think you went first for what you've been playing last week, so
I think so. I believe.
yeah, I'll take us out.
Yeah, go for it.
What have I been doing? I beat all three of the new Wolfenstein games this past week, or
Oh,
I
you got
beat
Old Blood done?
yeah. Yeah, I
'Cause
beat
last
actually I
time
wanted
we
to
talked. Yeah, we talked a lot
yeah.
about a new Colossus last time, and we were talking about you getting ready for Old Blood. I'm surprised you
Yep.
managed to get it done in a week, given your scheduling and how I absorb a lot of your free time.
Yeah, but I mean Saturdays are pretty good for me as far as like gaming goes
Mhm.
because it's pretty dead, so I can just do whatever I want. But yeah, I beat Wolfenstein: The Old Blood. The last time that we recorded it, did I beat? I did beat the new Colossus, right?
Yeah, yeah. We
Yeah.
talked a lot about the new Colossus last time because you just beat it.
Yeah. So I played through and beat the Old Blood. Um, it was fine. I actually kind of have issue with the direction that they took the story and the overall tone. I mean, like the game has been out for, uh, you know, what like close to 10 years at this point. So, spoiler alert if you have not played it, but I thought the whole like Nazi zombie shtick was just out of place for Wolfenstein. I wasn't really a fan, to be honest. I liked the first two much better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as far as the Old Blood overall, I kind of touched on this not just from a gameplay perspective, but also because of just the overall it was a much different package. You know, Old Blood was kind of like one of
Yeah,
those not expansions, but not full games either. Even though I think it was like
yeah,
technically a full
like a
game.
weird spin-off or like a side quel.
Yeah, the whole thing with Old Blood is it's basically the bones of the New Order, with the addition of like the melee weapon, the pipe, the two pieces of the pipe, and climbing. As far
Yeah.
as like the story, like you mentioned, you know, you're not a big fan of the Nazi zombie shtick and everything like that. I mean, that's
I mean, there's a
always
reason for it though. Like I am
yeah.
so conditioned to like Nazi zombies like in COD that I just
Hmm.
thought it was very out of place in the Old Blood. They could have done something else, and then that boss fight at the end was just like it just jumped the shark for me personally.
Well, the whole thing is that like the newer the newer Machine Games and Bethesda Wolfenstein games, they kind of shy away from it, but the occult stuff was always a part of it. It was always a big part of it. Especially like if you ever go back and you play Wolfenstein and Return to Castle Wolfenstein, like the reboot before this current era,
Okay.
it leans a lot into it. It's definitely I guess dark is a good way to put it. Not dark as in like subject matter, but dark as in like grittier, more occult and things like that. Um,
I know like apparently like the Nazis were into that stuff like during World War II.
yeah, yeah, that's
Um,
that's that's where a lot of the basis for like the fictional aspects of Wolfenstein come into play. Is they were inspired by the fact that the Nazis had a lot of different plans and things they were researching, both in the actual grounded scientific world and also in like things like myths and legend. It wasn't necessarily as far and obviously not as successful as like Wolfenstein was, but it was something that they were doing research into.
yeah.
This is the Wolfenstein is just that taken to an extreme. The newer games lean more into stolen mythical technology, but occultism and more the grittier like occult aspects of it were always a stronger part of Wolfenstein once it got its legs together. It wasn't as big a deal in like the first Wolfenstein, like the one that predates Doom and things like that.
Mhm.
But it was always a part of the mythos as it expanded the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I
but obviously mileage will vary.
Right. But I in my opinion, the Old Blood is the weakest out of the three. Out of like the core, um, definitely better than Young Blood, but
Yeah.
I,
It's I can
but
see where you're I can see where you're going with it. It is a little tough for me just because I
Youngblood
kind
was
of
bad from like a mechanic standpoint. Like I didn't have an issue with the like the narrative of the game. It was just whoever developed it. Was it Machine Games who did
I swear they were
Youngblood?
like the core group. Like they were just experimenting with it. They didn't like hand it off to anybody. I don't
Yeah, I
think.
mean the whole thing they were going for with Youngblood just it just didn't work within the whole framework of Wolfenstein. But
Oh,
I liked I
it was
liked the
Machine
fact
Games
that
and Arcane. That's who did it.
okay, which I'm surprised because I mean they're two pretty good developers, so I don't know how it got off the rails the way that it did.
If the recipe's not there, you know,
Yeah. But
see
anyway,
how he's cooking.
beat the old blood. I started Hades 2 a little
Mm,
bit. I probably put like about 2 hours into it. Not that much, but something.
mm,
We've been playing the finals still like pretty
of course.
regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a great time all around. I actually
Not for
played
you lately.
Helldivers. Yeah. Well, oh yeah, the last our last play session was pretty rough for me. Um, I played Helldivers 2 with Joe last night actually.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, I noticed he was on, so I hopped on and I joined his game and we just played a couple missions. I am almost done with the main storyline of Atomic Heart, and I'm surprised to say the gameplay has actually like rather grown on me the more I've played the
Mm,
game. Like it's very BioShock, and it's obvious that Munfish took like heavy inspiration from Irrational Games when they were making Atomic Heart.
mm,
Um, and now that I'm actually playing through the whole game, it's giving me a different perspective on the sequel that they announced at the Summer Game Fest. Um, so I have my issues with Atomic Heart. For one, the writing for the dialogue is pretty atrocious. The story is okay, but the actual dialogue is pretty bad, especially for the main protagonist that you play as.
mm.
He just like won't shut the fuck up sometimes. There are lines that he has that are actually pretty funny, and it like I swear, like whoever was writing this guy's character was like, what would the player think in this moment? Like, let's have the protagonist say that out loud. Like that is what it felt like. That's what it feels like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's definitely a con for me. Like I said, it's definitely funny at times, but most of the time it's just like obnoxious, and I just wish he would just shut the fuck up. Um, uh, the gameplay itself, I actually really enjoy. I think it's very good. And for Munfish's first game, like Atomic Heart is pretty impressive for their first
Mm,
stab at a game. Um, the infinitely respawning enemies in the open world that is the worst part about this game because like you try to go around and collect resources and check things off of the open world map, but the enemies they just keep on spawning. Like they have these like little like repair drones that are in huts like all over the map. And when you clear an area of bots, um, this hut will just deploy like a fleet of drones, and they just respawn everything. And
yeah.
you either skip it and run away, or you try to fight so that you can collect the resource that you were trying to get in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And it just ends up becoming a resource and a time sink because like you're gonna end up getting hit. You're gonna end up spending ammo to fight these things off. And it's a bad design choice for this game. And actually, this was the same problem with Wolfenstein Youngblood. Um, you would like go to an area and then backtrack to like pick up an objective, and all the enemies respawned, and you'd have to fight through it all over again. And it was
Yeah.
just a chore.
Mm,
So I've ended up like just driving through the open world to get to my next objective point so I can finish the main story. Um, but it's a shame because like I want to go around and do the different item, like the different things and quests on the map because I actually enjoy the game. Um, but it's more of a chore for me to do that than to just beeline the main story because I just don't want to deal with the bullshit that is infinitely respawning enemies.
yeah.
Um, so that's kind of arduous, but it is what it is. Going back to what I said before about having a new perspective on Atomic Heart 2 after playing through this game. I think them deciding to do like a quote unquote spiritual successor, or it's essentially a reboot, is what I'm going to call it, because I mean the game came out like a couple years ago, like it's not even that old, and now they're just they're doing a second game, but it's not a direct continuation of the story, so it's just very strange their decision to move forward with the IP, but it's not a direct sequel. It's like they're just remaking the game. I actually think that is a good thing. I think that's a good decision, because Atomic Heart could have been something special, but a couple design choices within the development of the game like really held it back, and it just be like there are certain, like I said before, there are certain parts that like I would rather just skip entirely, even though I wanted to stick around and play through the open world and get these different items that I want to make my character stronger, but I just don't, because it's not worth my time, because it's just fucking annoying to play through. So I think them rebooting it or doing like taking another stab at this formula is probably a good thing, because I feel like they will get a lot of things right, because you look on the Steam reviews and it's all the people that have put up a review basically say the same thing, even though the game is still sitting at like mostly positive on Steam. So people like this, like they like the game, they like the universe. It's the whole not art style, but the design language for this fictional historical universe they created is actually pretty cool. I do dig it. But the cons like really detract from the overall experience, which is a shame. But I think they could definitely fix a lot of the big design flaws that they put in the first game with Atomic Heart 2. So that was my perspective shift after playing through Atomic Heart 1. I haven't beaten it yet. I'm probably going to beat it in the next couple days. But I'm enjoying my time with it more than I thought I would. And I got the gold edition or whatever. So I have all the DLC packs for it.
Overall, what I would just say about Atomic Heart is that a lot of the criticisms that you have about it, a lot of the hangups you have about it, I recall similar ones. I never completed the game. It just didn't click with me for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned. I do remember... What would be the best way to put this? You mentioned skipping a lot of the elements of it, and I get that. Because I remember, there was a point in time where it's just like certain areas I would be hurrying through them more than instead of taking my time and going for resources and things like that, So it's like I had pretty much the same experience as you.
Yeah. Like I said, the game could have been something special, or at least a much better version of itself if they... I mean, the biggest thing is the infinitely respawning enemies in the open world. Like, it kills the whole experience. So I don't know. I am still enjoying my time with it overall, but those cons are pretty glaring, and I hope to see them fixed in Atomic Heart 2. Beyond that, the Darktide DLC, the new class came out for Darktide today, actually, on the 23rd. I only played one match because we're recording right now, but so far, so I made my character. I made the new Arbites class. I loaded into the Morningstar, which is the central hub of the game, and I queued up a mission. And when you know how you first load in, you see everybody's character, like what class they are, what they're running, and everything.
Yes.
Everybody was playing as the Arbites class. It was pretty fucking hilarious.
It's going to be that way for a while.
Yeah, it is. But I'm okay with that, because seeing 4 of these cyber mastiffs run around on the map was just very satisfying, because they will go out and like pounce on different enemies that are actively engaging the player by themselves, but you can also tag the heavies and elites manually, and they will pounce on them also and like do a heavy stagger or pin them to the ground, so you can run up there and finish them with a melee or shoot them and kill them with a ranged weapon. I can't really speak much about the skill tree, but it is a completely new skill tree to the game. But so far, the one game that I played, just the fact that all 4 of us were running the same class was like, it was hilarious, and it was just really satisfying, because it's just like an army of fucking mastiffs going at the heretics. It is really cool. And I named my guy, because do you know anything about the lore for the Adeptus arbitrators?
Limited. Let's pretend I don't know
Adeptus
anything.
Arbites. Yeah, I mean, they're basically Judge Dredd
Yeah,
in
okay.
the Warhammer universe. Like that is all the backstory that you need. And I named my guy Frank Drebin. I just thought that was you do know what that's from, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I thought I would have gotten a better reaction, but all right, that's fine.
Yeah,
Just cry myself to sleep tonight.
no, no, no. It's fine. I appreciated it. I appreciated it.
And my mastiff's name is Cuddles, just in case you were wondering. I think I'm gonna rename it to Mr. Bigglesworth.
Oh, going for all the references, all your characters.
Well, I can only pick one name, so I think Mr. Bigglesworth is funnier than Cuddles, but yeah. Anywho, that is what I've been playing this week. It's kind of a long-winded one because I did like a mini review on fucking The Old Blood and Atomic Heart. So, fill me in. What have you been playing this week, friendo?
It's been a rather slow but scattershot week for me. You know, I still have my fighters, my gotcha. I've been putting a lot of time into Genshin Impact just because it kind of ebbs and flows with me. I have a couple buddies that play it. You know, it's just a comfort game for a lot of them, so it's like I get in the flow. And plus, when I do it passively, I build up a lot of resources so that when I sit down, I can actually work on different characters and get the resources I need and just be done with it. So I played of that pool of games that I just play every week, every other week. Genshin got the most of my time. But aside from that pool of games, the only really thing, it's been kind of scattershot, like I said, but for just shit we've been playing for the channel and stuff I've been trying on my own. I finally went back and finished that Kingdom Hearts run that I was doing, where I was doing all the challenges at once just to get them out of the way. So I ran through the game in under I think the game is the. What was it? It's the stipulation is like under 14 hours. I think that's what the achievement was or whatever. I did it in under 5.
Oh.
I did it with no changing equipment, you know, no continues, all that. So that was fun. I finally got that out of the way, and now I can put Kingdom Hearts down for a while. Other than that, we started playing Hi-Fi Rush for the channel, so I've been getting back into that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I liked Hi-Fi Rush, not as much as fucking everybody else does. Like, everybody treats it like God's gift to man. I think we've talked ad nauseum about Microsoft's decisions with all that. But I still enjoy it. I still have no fucking rhythm, so I still fuck up. Like, I play the game just fine.
I love rhythm games. What are you talking about?
I love rhythm games. The way this game does rhythm is just, it's not like there's a beat constantly going in the background, right? And you're supposed to press the buttons at the right time of the beat. And as far as I can tell, I never confirmed this, but from playing the game a couple of times and going back and playing it again, I'm pretty sure how it works is the main character, Chai, when he swings his weapon, right? I'm pretty sure the animation speeds up and slows to go along with the rhythm, so it doesn't penalize you, like, you know, for going along with the rhythm. You know, you're meant to do that.
Okay.
However, my brain doesn't register that because, you know, you say I love rhythm games. I do. I love action games more, and action games say the second you land the hit, you press the next button, you do this, you're buffering the next input, and that does not jive with its scoring system. So basically, I'm playing the game, I'm playing it well, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just I consistently get low rhythm scores. So it's like not taking any damage, doing all the damage I need to the enemies, but I consistently rank low because I don't do the rhythm right. But so we've been playing that again. Luke, because occasionally we'll just have days where it's just like, I don't feel like doing this. And I'm like, okay, whatever. What do you want to do instead? I've been watching Luke play Sunset Overdrive. That's a fucking blast from the past.
Old, yeah.
Yeah, that was like it's up there with Rise as far as one of the early Microsoft exclusives for the Xbox One. And you know, I never gave that game a fair shot because like I think it has just such a terrible opening series of missions where it feels much more restrictive than it is, because it feels like you go in thinking, okay, this is Insomniac, they're great at open world games, they're great at this, they're great at that. I was expecting like their version of Infamous. I think that's what everybody was expecting pretty much, and it's not. It's not paced or like done the same way, and there's nothing wrong with trying something different, but it's like instead of trying something different and experimental, they just did something more restrictive. Part of it's cool where you're supposed to constantly be moving and shooting to keep a combo going, and you get more effective as the combo keeps going, but it feels like instead of you, and I'm just going to keep comparing it to Infamous because I think that's the best game to compare it to, instead of approaching combat scenarios however you want and adapting to where you land when you're playing with the movement, Sunset Overdrive basically builds like these giant playgrounds in every encounter location, and you're supposed to constantly be moving it, almost like you're playing fucking Tony Hawk at the same time you're playing this action game. Because if you don't do the combos, you basically don't do the right damage. And all this to say is, I'm not like head over heels with it now or anything. I definitely didn't give it a fair shake when it was new. But watching Luke play it, I'm just like, it looks more fun than I remember it being, I will say the writing and the story is kind of grating. It's like, all the tropes that people hate now. Sunset Overdrive does like a lot of the proto versions of that, where it's not like intentionally grating boardroom writing. It's just like bad millennial humor, and it sometimes works, but other times it's just very grating. And so we've been playing that for the channel. Other than that, nothing I can really think of. I think that's really it's been a slow week for me.
All right, yeah. All right. Well, the first thing that I want to get to actually is a possible leaked price for the ROG Xbox Ally and the Ally X.
I hadn't heard.
Yeah,
about this,
so
this will be new for me.
Okay, good. The website, thegamepost.com, I unsure where the leak actually came from, but it was a listing on the European retail site.
Okay.
So apparently, according to this site, the base model Xbox Ally is going to be 500, and the Ally X is going to be 8. And I gotta tell you, I don't know if I buy this because those prices seem exceedingly low.
That's way more reasonable than we were expecting. I think we kind of ballparked it around 700, 750 starting. I think that's where our estimate was.
Yeah, just based on the tech that's in it and the fact that they have two companies working on a collaborative product. It's not even like the base model and the Ally X are like kind of similar. They're really not. Like, all the internals in the Ally X are far more beefed up than the base model. So I was really expecting like a $1,000 price tag at base for like the base model of the Ally X, or I'm sorry, not the base model, but just the Ally. I was expecting a $1,000 price tag, and then I was expecting, like you said, 7 or 750 for the base model Ally. So I'm intrigued. I don't know if this is going to be legit, but I guess we'll see.
See what happens.
But, I mean,
don't get me wrong. I mean, unlikely, yes, but like it's not outside the realm of possibility if they want to remain competitive. But at the same time, it's like their main competition right now, aside from PC handhelds, which this is a branch off of, is the Switch. It's not like they have Sony to worry about, so they have like a lot of room to like keep that price.
I don't even think the Switch is their main competition. I think it's two completely different demographics.
Well, I'm going to tell you the same thing I told you when we had this conversation with the reverse way around, where we were talking about the Switch 2, and you brought up PC handhelds. It's like it's a matter of like different regions and collective price points and things like that. It may seem like there are different demographics, but at the same time, it's like people like to play video games. It's going to be on one.
I get that, but I think the lane that the Xbox ROG Ally is in is a different lane entirely than where the Switch is. I think it's two very different audiences.
I don't think they're as far apart as you think. Just because
I am going to agree to disagree on that one.
Yeah, that's fine, but I just think the nature of I understand where you're coming from. If you look at it like Xbox versus Nintendo, right?
I'm not even looking at it like Xbox versus Nintendo. I'm looking at it like I feel like the offering, or like the concept. I don't know what word I'm looking for here, but there's a term for this. It's escaping me right now. It's bothering me.
The category?
No, maybe a little bit. No, but like the product offering, or the value offering that the ROG Ally is in is a very different one than where the Switch is. Like the Switch has had its core audience for the past 7 or 8 years, and that being like, younger kids who like handheld video games, or parents that are buying their kids um, uh, the Switch for very specific games like Mario or Zelda.
Mhm.
I mean, granted, the Switch 2 is branching out of its comfort zone with uh, much more adult games, but I feel like when you talk about a handheld gaming product, the like a handheld PC is a different thing than a Switch. Um, like the Steam Deck is probably the closest competitor to the Xbox, the Xbox ROG Ally. I can
Mhm.
never remember the right way to say that,
Yeah.
but I just don't think that they are competing for the same audience. I don't
Mhm.
between like the ROG and the Switch.
I'm gonna just have to go with you on this one to agree to disagree, just because
Yeah,
I understand where you're coming from, where you're talking about existing bases and things like that, and like the kind of markets they already have cornered. Get that entirely, but I don't think. I think when it comes to prospective new buyers in the space, which is what everyone's really gunning for, I think there's more overlap in that, even though they serve distinctly different purposes and have different core selling points. I do think that um, I do think that the portable aspect, the fact that it's on the go, it's a mobile platform device, I think that that really changes the overall scope of an audience that
yeah,
either
that
could be
might
going
be
for, and
the
that
most
changes
similar
things.
thing. That might be the most similar thing between the two, in my opinion.
No, yeah, of
That
course.
the form factor is the same, although the ROG Ally, the ROG Xbox Ally, Jesus Christ, the
Mhm.
mouth, it's a terrible name, fucking mouthful. Like that is from like a even an ergonomic standpoint. Like you look at that thing, and I could probably game on that for like maybe 2 hours or something.
Mhm.
I have held the Switch 2 already in person, and I couldn't hold that for more than like 30, 40 minutes. It's just too
Mhm.
slim, it's too narrow. That's just based on ergonomics. Like uh the Xbox Ally, that thing is running, it's a very, very, very modified version of it, but it's running full Windows. And you
Mhm.
could probably do whatever you want to it. Like you cannot do whatever you want to the Switch.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know. Like I said, but I think we have different opinions on this, and
Mhm.
I don't think these two products are in the same lane. They look similar because they're both handheld consoles, so to speak, but I just think that they are two very different offerings for two very different audiences.
Yeah, and that's a sound way to look at it, but I don't think in terms of competition that like you're looking at it from a very realist perspective. I'm just
Maybe.
talking just general audience potential, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, so I found that leak last week, and I posted it in the chat. I thought that was at least worth bringing up because the price that this is saying is far less than we thought was even in the conversation. So that that's kind of cool. I mean, if that's accurate, then I'm very happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I'm sold on that being legit.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see. Let's move on from that.
Yeah.
Also in the pricing category realm, whatever. Borderlands 4 will in fact not be $80. It'll be 70.
Mm.
So that's a thing. Uh,
Yeah.
and
It's still too expensive in my book,
yeah,
but
no, I agree. I agree. But that's fucking Randy Pitchford caused such waves in that retarded tweet that he put out that
yeah,
like when the price of the game was actually announced, it was like all over the place.
yeah,
Uh, and actually, on the same topic of Borderlands 4, they just had the like this giant press event with
yes.
streamers and content creators and just, blah 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 blah. People actually getting hands on. There have been a bunch of gameplay footage that have been released. I mean, I really don't want to spend too much time on this because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's more Borderlands, and that's fine for what it is for the people who
Mm-hmm.
enjoy that. Me being one of them, honestly. Although I will say, like, based on like comments alone, people are very split. A lot of people are saying like, I'm gonna wait for this to go on sale in like a year where it's like 40 or 50% off, and then the other
Mm-hmm.
half is like, I this looks really good, like as a hardcore Borderlands fan. I'm really looking forward to this, and I'm gonna buy it immediately when it comes out. So it's interesting, but at the end of the day, it's just more Borderlands. Like, you're not getting that much different uh, offering. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think the issue with Borderlands, I think, is just because it's been kind of listless, I would say, since 2.
Yeah.
It's definitely the kind of game that gets like pulled back and forth both from external perception and internal development. Just because if you look at the pre-sequel, if you look at 3, if you look at all the spin-offs, you can tell like it doesn't feel cohesive anymore.
Yeah.
And I think part of that has to do with the fact that going from Borderlands 1 to 2, there was a bit of a shift in tone because 1 was obviously it had, punchy comedy. It was nothing, extravagant. It's not like the world's most well-written comedy or anything like that, but it had its own lane. It was a darker world with comedy bits in it, And
Yeah.
then 2, they leaned a bit more into the comedy and the colorful nature of it, and it's just like at the same time they had this whole like, oh, where do we go with Borderlands? Borderlands is all about the guns and the looting and all this. Got to give you more guns. It's just everything's in your face, both from the gameplay perspective and the tone and the writing and everything like that. And it's just, aside from the fact that I don't really think there was a cohesive vision, you also have the aspect of like modern day elements being, pushed in it, and I think it's very much behind the scenes. I think that while the writers have like kind of leeway with writing whatever they want to be like silly, funny, and all that kind of jazz, I do think that there is a lot of like HR boardroom stuff going on that kind of sanitizes parts of the game and pulls its writing in different directions and just injects it with crap that it doesn't need. And going into 4, I appreciated the fact that a lot of it seems to be reined in a little bit,
Yeah.
I definitely, like, early on they said, like, oh, or it wasn't just said, but it was also from previous people, just like, it's going to be closer to Borderlands 1. And that piqued my interest a little because, I like the more down to earth. I may not, I can only jive so much with the gameplay when I'm not playing with a full group, and that's just not tenable nowadays. But,
Yeah.
I would say that, I appreciate some of the changes they made, but I'm not confident in the brand, the company, the people behind it, their intentions, or it being a product worth my time and money. Because I think that while they are making some good steps in the right direction, I don't think the overall package will feel any different from the last 3 Borderlands games. You know?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I feel like Borderlands 2 is definitely the best one out of the series so far. But even like from Borderlands 1 to 2 and then 2 to 3, it's just more of the same thing. I do think that Borderlands 3 probably played the best mechanically speaking, even though the story was absolute dog shit. And then the writing for that game was absolutely atrocious. But I actually really enjoyed my time with Borderlands 3 just because it was fun to play. And in my eyes, like, gameplay is always king when it comes to a fucking video game. So I enjoyed it, but I couldn't stand the writing just like everybody else who played that game. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's
moral of the story is Borderlands 4 is going to be 70, not 80. Not that $10 makes that much of a difference, but
yeah.
it's still kind of on the expensive end. So
Yeah,
yeah.
but I would say that the thing about Borderlands, it kind of there's the what we get out of it kind of differs just a little. And this isn't me saying you don't have standards. It should, because you're not chomping at the bit to buy it day one or anything.
I'm really
like that.
not, no.
Because, like, obviously, like, at the end of the day, games like a Borderlands have that kind of nature in it where it's just like, you put it in front of someone, and they're tuned to that kind of looter shooter, loop. Like, you're gonna get something out of it. I can't. It was a struggle for me when we were younger for me to consume games like that. I think the Division 1, when that was new, kind of broke that for me, and I don't think I could ever be in a position where where, like, don't get me wrong, I agree with you, gameplay is king, these are video games after all, but if everything around it is just abrasive or hates me or, like, just...
Or hates you.
or subpar, and these are all separate things, I'm not saying, like, all together, if it's lacking in all other ways for whatever reason, like, I don't know, I can't stomach that anymore, I guess I can say.
I get it. I do.
Yeah, but no, I'm pretty much, believe it or not, I think our opinion on Borderlands is closer than you think. even though I'm a bit more dour on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so $70 still a bit too much for me, but I'm glad he got his fucking opinion kicked in, because I know for sure that if the reception wasn't as negative as it was, it would probably be $80 right now. It's Randy wasn't bluffing. He was
Yeah.
he was definitely, it was more of like a gauging interest kind of thing when he made that asinine statement. So
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on from Borderlands, Nexus Mods. You know what that is, right?
I'm honestly surprised you're bringing this up. Yes, I'm aware
Really?
of
Why?
Nexus Mods, because it doesn't seem like it's in your wheelhouse to like comment on the news that you're about to get
Well,
to.
I so I get that because I am not big in the modding scene whatsoever, but I do mod the fuck out of Darktide. It just
Mhm.
makes that experience just so much better overall that I have put a bunch of mods into my
Uh,
copy of Darktide.
are,
So
are we
when
talking
this
like UI performance? What kind of mods? I'm just curious. Just not to go
gameplay,
down a whole.
UI,
Okay.
performance, all of it. Like it just
Okay.
makes it a better experience.
Yeah.
I actually have to because Dark Tide got updated today. I had to go to the Nexus Mods site and make sure that all my mods were actually up to date. I had to make sure that the 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 game shaders were cached before I enabled the mods for the new update. Like it's a whole process,
Yeah.
but it is so worth it because it makes the game that much more enjoyable that like I really can't play Dark Tide without those mods anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, I only use Nexus mods for Dark Tide. But I use it enough that when this news came across my desk, so to speak, I raised an eyebrow. And that
Mm-hmm.
news being that the guy who owns and has been running Nexus mods for the past however many years, I think it's like 10 or something like that. No, I'm
Pretty
sorry,
sure he was the
24
founder,
years.
wasn't he?
Yeah,
Like he
24
started
years.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. He sold it to an undisclosed buyer, at least at the date that I found this article, which was on the 16th from WCCF Tech. But
Mm-hmm.
while you were talking before, I actually was Googling it, and they were acquired by Chosen. That's the
Okay.
company. And it says a company focused on growth and monetization of gaming startups, which does not fill me with fucking confidence, obviously.
Yeah. No.
Um, and I mean, the story boils down to the fact that this guy was running this mod site for uh, 24 years, and it was extremely stressful, and it was very taxing on his personal life, and he just couldn't do it anymore,
Yeah.
and he decided to sell it, which is understandable. I mean, like it's 24 years is a long time,
Yeah.
especially for a site that a lot of people use. So I get the decision to sell it. He
Mm-hmm.
also said that like he wouldn't have sold it to somebody if he wasn't confident that they weren't gonna essentially take good care of it. But I mean, based on that brief description that I just gave you about Chosen, I don't know, man. Like maybe they just threw a ton of money at him,
Mm.
and he just caved. But
I mean,
this could be a slippery slope.
yeah, it probably is. I mean, as far as what you brought up, as far as him going out and seeking a buyer, or like waiting for somebody who he had a bit more faith in and the company's stances and all that stuff. I don't know much about the guy. I know what his tenure led to, because I've done a lot of reporting on Nexus Mods and some of their more questionable bannings and their more questionable censorship and things like that. So, and I'm willing to believe that this guy is very much just kind of, you mentioned he's been at this for a while, but I think he's just kind of done with all the stressors of having to run this fucking thing.
Yeah, I would
Um,
agree. Yeah.
yeah, and like, let's give him the best interpretation, the best intent we possibly can, right? Let's say he
Yep.
did go out looking and he found this. I That doesn't, like, even if he has the best intentions, I don't trust companies like that. Like
Yeah.
like something like a modding site doesn't need there doesn't need to be corporate anything behind it. These are mods. These aren't these this isn't some kind of fucking corporate thing, right? This is a modding site. I am still of the opinion that Nexus Mods overall is way too bloated for its own good. And I'm not even talking about the subscriptions and the tiers like that. I just think the site is just not like easy to use, or like
It's not.
there's so much bloat and unnecessary crap in it to begin with. But I guess basically what I'm saying is, like, you know, having followed all the different stories of censorship and things like that that have been going on there, I'm just like, this is the time, you know, for competitors to kind of swoop in and just start making their own thing, just because I just
Yeah, but this is just run by some guy. It's not like it's a company that decided to make a modding site.
I know, and now there's a company involved, and it's all nonsense now, because there have been, because of Nexus Mods approach to censorship and heavy-handed stuff, which increased actually when the buyout was mentioned, when the purchase was mentioned. I noticed an uptick in people reporting their comments and their concerns, and also their questions about censorship. It went from like eventually getting taken care of and being more relegated to the mods being taken down, to like moderators going into comment sections and forum posts and just completely just deleting these things and shadow banning these people. So overall, I guess what I have to say on this is just like, there's no reason for a company of that size to be involved. They are more than likely at a certain point going to start injecting their own thing where they make their money's worth on this purchase. And I don't think it's good. Like, I don't think it's good at all for the service that they're offering and for the site itself. But the site itself has kind of been on the downturn for a while, just based on everything I know about it. Like the second, what's the best way to put this? I know me and Joe have talked about this on the podcast before, but like mods in general, it's literally just like, it's a player freedom kind of thing. It's like somebody makes a modification for whatever purpose, and a player goes out to kind of like refine their personal experience, right? It's not like these aren't products to be made and sold. Modders and companies have been trying to do that for a while, and it's like, where is this company going to get their money's worth on Nexus? Is it going to be from the subscriptions that'll steadily go up? Is it like an ad thing I'm missing? Are they going to start charging? Like, they have an end game here. Otherwise, they wouldn't have come in and purchased it. But I really do think that the bright side in all this is that they can't really afford to push too hard, regardless of what their intention is. My understanding is that they're big into NFTs and stuff like that. So it's just like, I mean, and I only know this because the guy had to come out and say, like, listen, don't worry, we're not going to put NFTs on your site. And I'm just like, I don't know where, I just don't know where this goes, because Nexus, like, they would basically need to, like, if they tried to monetize this in any way, shape, or form, or tried to sneak any of that shit in, they would basically need to cut a deal with mod creators, because otherwise they just leave and go elsewhere. There's already like a handful of alternatives that have been building up over time, just because of the censorious nature that Nexus Mods had been, you know, building up over time, right? So I mean, I don't know how this ends well for Nexus, short of them just actually just quietly doing nothing with it for like years until they can sneak stuff in. But I think it'll be sooner than that. So yeah, I had heard about that, and I don't see the point in all this, and I don't see how it ends well for anybody, I guess, you know.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard that Nexus was bought, I immediately like had a bad feeling.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that, just like so many other things, but it just is not a good omen in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mess.
Yeah. Let's see. I got a couple more things. I mean, if you want to bring something up, then go for it.
Here, I'll bring something up. All right. My one of my favorite people. He just can't. You know, like I bring up some people in the industry every once in a while, just because, you know, news comes and goes. Right. I never intend to, like, I don't want to make this a weekly thing where I bitch about specific personalities, because that's retarded. Bitching about certain issues, perfectly fine. But bitching about people, it doesn't make sense to me. This fucking guy is still in his, like, I guess his schizo arc or something like that, and that is my good friend Adi Shankar. He is back in the news again, because he recently made a purchase stand, and he's getting ready to do a new adaptation, and that adaptation is Duke Nukem. I have no idea. I guess the rights were cheap or something, so he'll be doing that. And
how could they not be?
Yeah, I mean, Duke Nukem's kind of been, you know,
been in this shit over the past 20 years.
Yeah, it's been a while since Duke has been in his heyday, and his voice act is kind of cringe now, and it's just kind of kind of a whole bleak situation. Even the fan groups around it and like the impersonators are all cringe and stuff, and it's just like, what's going on here? Poor Duke. But my whole thing is just like, okay, he gets his hands on shit. People get their hands on shit all the time, right? He immediately took to Twitter and started like, I guess, gloating about it. He's talking about, it's like, he basically embraced all of the stereotypes and anticipations that people have when he gets his hands on these things and he does his adaptations, right? So he immediately starts ranting. He's like, my self-insert is going to save this series, you know, all of your characters and expectations are going to be subverted. He's just ranting on Twitter nonstop, just antagonizing everybody. I still don't know if it's because he's rage baiting or if he's been mind broken because his reputation's in the shitter. I don't know. But he basically, when he made the purchase, he basically said something along the lines of, it's like, oh, Duke is just one big middle finger. It's always been a middle finger. Everybody tried to make it a brand, but it's just one big middle finger. And I'm just already off the bat, I'm just like, you're gonna overdo it, aren't you? You're gonna overplay it, because it's like how much Duke Nukem have you consumed in your life, Daniel?
Oh god, not much.
Yeah,
I played a little bit of Duke Nukem Forever, but that was it.
You got to play the originals at a certain point, because they're good. The reputation there is earned to a degree, but
what are they even on?
There's probably this. You could probably play it the same way you could play the Doom games, where it's just like the original DOS shit probably isn't attainable, but you could probably emulate it in a certain way through the various, or you could probably get it on Steam or something, you know. But
I'm looking right now.
Yeah, but there's a lot of the classic games.
Duke Nukem 3D actually has a very positive rating on Steam.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like everything up to that point. But yeah, so
still
he basically,
$20. Wow.
Yeah, he's gonna do his whole thing, and he's gonna make another crappy adaptation. But it's just like his reign of terror just continues, and I'm hoping that because he's still kind of professional in his interviews, but on Twitter he is just a whirlwind of just like I can really only describe it as threatening people, because like he's constantly posting logos of beloved franchises and running polls about what Capcom title should I do next, and it's just like, this guy needs to be stopped. Just a menace. He's just making shitty adaptations, and now he's like having these villain monologue moments on Twitter about it, and it's just like, I wouldn't work with you. Like, who's funding you, you know? His entire fucking body of work, I described it to you once, is literally just being like just a name only producer on like a handful of good films, and then like these weird subversive, like, you know, what ifs and adaptations, and it's just all shit.
I feel bad for you, Anthony. Your favorite franchises have been raped.
Don't just feel bad for me. He's definitely coming for your stuff at a certain point.
What would that be? What do you think you could? You know what? I don't even. Never mind.
Don't put it in. Don't put it into the
line
ether.
of thinking.
Don't put it into
exactly.
the ether. It'll just end badly for you.
Yeah. So that sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not as hardcore a fan of Duke as I am like Devil May Cry or Castlevania. Obviously, I'm not going to pretend it. They're good games. Duke deserves better. I don't really know who and when is ever going to, you know, give that to him, but he does. You know, it would be nice to get a good Duke Nukem game out. You know, give it the same treatment Doom and Wolfenstein got.
Doubt it. Anyway, going forward, let's see, what do we got? Battlefield 2042 got a fucking Mass Effect crossover. Like, now, why? I don't understand.
To fuck with you.
Mass Effect is pretty much done, and Battlefield 2042, nobody liked it. So, I'm just confused. I mean, are they trying to build hype for Battlefield 6?
I guess somewhere in the offices of EA, like somebody realizes like, we could try and squeeze more out of both of these things by just doing like, oh, we own the properties. Get the interns to work on some kind of cheap little crossover and see if we can gin up any kind of hype.
Well, on the same note, for Battlefield, Battle Royale files were spotted in the move from pre-alpha to alpha, so that's a thing. I don't know. I think that Battlefield 6 is actually coming along rather nicely. Every leaked footage that I've seen actually looks pretty good. and I'm I'm cautiously optimistic for Battlefield 6, just because I mean, look, they really look like they're going back to form with this game, like full-blown destruction. The different classes, albeit blurring the lines a little bit with certain weapons are universal. But every time I watch some gameplay, it actually looks pretty good. So I
Mhm.
am very interested to see a an official reveal event, and I'm pretty sure it's supposed to happen at some point this summer. I also think that I've said this like no less than 3 different times already on this podcast.
Yes.
But the fact that there were battle royale files spotted, that is, so yeah, I just thought it was at least
Yeah.
worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Let's see. I
Hey,
only have
when
like 3 more things.
what I'll say about the Battlefield thing, real quick, is like I don't think the battle royale file thing is as much of a death knell as it used to be, because I think as the popularity of battle royale kind of like wanes and falls out of fashion, and it's just another thing companies chase. I think a lot of them are realizing now that it's meant to be treated more like a mode and less like a game. And I
Yeah,
think that they will plan accordingly with the proper resources. And because of the fact that Battlefield is a large scale thing to begin with, and they did already test the waters with what the hell was it
Firestorm.
called? Firestorm. I thought it was like Firestarter or something like that. But it's like I don't think it's as necessarily as much of a red flag as it would have been like 5 years ago. You know.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. I mean, look, I think you're right with when you say that it's the companies starting to realize it's a mode. It's not like an entire game.
Mhm.
Because the people that are actually interested in Battlefield, not even 6, but just like the franchise overall, we want a a traditional Battlefield experience. Like we
Yes.
want the large scale combat in like a multiplayer arena setting, so to speak. Like it's not a battle royale offering. I mean, you can put that in there, sure. Like I really don't care. I probably never touch it, but as long as the focus is going to be on what makes Battlefield Battlefield, so
Mhm.
uh, have the mode there. That's fine. I don't want
Right.
it to be like front and center of the focus of
Of
everything in that
course. Of
IP.
course.
Yeah. Uh, what else we got? Small thing. Apparently, Prototype 3 is in the works, which could be cool. Prototype 1 and 2 were fun in their own right.
Yeah.
Good little open world, like
Yeah, it would be nice to have just a
complete power
nice,
fantasy type of game.
yeah, just a nice little open world game again. I feel like there's not too many experimental open world games that are just like fun action games anymore. You know, it's like you have
Yeah.
Insomniac's Spider-Man, and what else really? You know,
Crackdown 3 tried it, but it failed miserably.
yeah, Crackdown
All I
3
really got.
was yeah, Crackdown 3, Crackdown 1 and 2 are still pretty good. 1 is better than
Yeah.
2, I think, but
We never addressed the elephant in the room, and I'm just seeing it on the news channel now. But Marathon, the gift that just keeps on giving. Um, Marathon is delayed indefinitely,
yeah.
and which might add to the surprise of absolutely nobody. Um, I don't know if it was Sony or Bungie, but it's not coming out anytime soon.
Yeah, well,
There's so much work to do.
Bungie has lost most control to that degree, so it had to have been Sony, right? Because
Yeah, I would think.
ever since like what the hell caused it like the last couple Destiny
Well,
expansions
over
when
the past several years, Sony has been making this giant push into live service games. They had like 8 or 9 different things that were being developed, like at the time when they were announcing it. I think half of, if not more than half of those projects have been canned. Uh, and I think Marathon was probably one of those things,
mhm.
and now it's being delayed indefinitely. But that's just it's not because it's not because of the game itself. It's just because of all the bullshit surrounding it. Like, well, actually, no, it is because of the game itself. It just looked fucking boring.
Mm.
Um, and apparently, like all the devs at Bungie didn't know it was happening until the
Yeah.
post went live, which is a different thing entirely. Like that game was never going to succeed. And if
Yeah.
it ever does see the light of day, it needs to be a different thing. It cannot be what what they have been showing so far, like thus far. It
Yeah.
can't be that. It has got to be a different art style. It's got to be massively overhauled gameplay and systems. It needs to be a different thing. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah. I mean,
the way that they
you
have made it now is not what anybody wants.
Yeah, you might just get your wish because like when this happened, not too long after, I heard people reporting like, oh, they're hiring for leadership positions. Like leadership positions? What the fuck are you talking about? So I went and looked. If you go to the Bungie careers, let's see what they got on here. They
Yeah, I
got
saw that. Yep.
Marathon Commerce and Events Art Lead, Marathon Gameplay Engineering Lead, Marathon Investment Engineering Lead, Marathon Principal Product Manager in Game Systems, Marathon Senior Artist, Marathon Test Lead. Like, there's a lot of lead positions and important senior
Yeah.
positions that are
They
like.
probably gutted the management.
It didn't wasn't it confirmed that like I know we talked about the potential, but didn't they like most of the art team either leave or get fired or get put on a different project after that art snafu?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised, but I
might
don't
be
remember hearing anything
misremembering.
about that.
Might be misremembering, but yeah, I mean,
I mean, look, I don't think I said this last week, but I definitely put this in the chat. I think that Bungie doing anything other than Destiny right now is a mistake. They need to stick to and focus on Destiny, make it the best it can be. Why are you laughing?
I'm laughing because like both the aspect that they wouldn't be able to handle more than one project, and also the fact that there's a little bit of bias there if we're being realistic. They
Yeah,
need to only focus on
fine.
Destiny. Please
No,
fix
well,
Destiny.
every project that they have announced or shown has either gotten canceled or been riddled with controversy.
Yeah.
So, and like, Destiny is a game that can go on basically indefinitely, the same way that Warframe has been going on for like 11 or 12 years at this point. And the difference here is that Digital Extremes is universally loved by its entire community because they keep on doing player focused they keep on making player focused decisions, and it shows. And everybody who plays that game knows it and feels it. Like it's not that difficult. Like if you want to survive as a studio, it's not that hard to make the right decision for the players to make the game the best version of itself that it could be. Bungie, I don't even know where to begin. Like it's been a rough couple years, and
Yeah.
granted, Final Shape was actually like phenomenal, and it was the best way they could have landed that jumbo jet that was the Destiny Light versus Darkness saga. Like they actually did a very good job with it, and it actually kind of leads me into the thing that I wanted to talk about with Destiny. With Edge of Fate, like there are these massive sweeping system changes coming to the entire game, which is actually causing a fissure in the whole Destiny community. I have like it has been no less than 50% of the people that I know that play Destiny, that I talk to and that I see online say that they're done and they're not coming back because of these system changes, which is kind of rendering all of the existing loot more or less useless. And the other half is kind of they're okay with it because the changes that are coming are essentially sequel level changes, and I'm actually in that camp. Like I think that one, the player base does not know what they want, and if like some of them just want to be running on the same treadmill forever, but the game can't evolve that way. Like the changes that they're making to Destiny, they're changing things at a core fundamental level. And yeah, it's making a lot of the shit that we have been earning for the past decade, or at least the past 6 years, relatively. I hesitate to use the word useless, but just it's not going to be as good as what we are going to be getting in Edge of Fate. But like, I don't understand what these people want. Like, you want to just be doing the same thing over and over again? You want to be chasing the same type of loot for the next 10 years? Stand. The weapon tier system that they are making for Edge of Fate is a sequel level change for something that you don't have to fucking pay for, and you can already have access to for free, even if you don't buy the expansion. The weapon tier system and the new changes to armor, they're coming to the game regardless. So it's a sequel level change for no money whatsoever, and like it's like I said, it's caused a fissure in the Destiny community, and I think that people are massively overreacting. I think that the changes that they're making are like I just said it, they're sequel level changes for no money, and this is the type of thing that Bungie had to do. Like if they wanted Destiny to stay alive for the next couple of years at least, they had to make these level of changes. They had to go deep within the core systems of the game and change things so that it wasn't going to get so stale so fast, especially for people that have been playing the game the way that I did when the final shape was new.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna stop talking in circles, but I guess I'll just
No,
close with the fact that yeah, what?
I was gonna say I get where you're coming from. There's only so many ways to talk about it. The problem is it's a
Yeah,
subjective issue. When a game
it is.
runs for as long as like something like Destiny's been going on for, you there's a very narrow line that you can walk between change and being more conservative with the changes that both expands your gameplay content but also pleases old fans. It's kind of what we talked about when Arrowhead announced that Helldivers 2 was going to slowly over time evolve into Helldivers 3, and I said,
Yeah,
as nice as that sentiment is, and as awesome as it is that you support a game with that much content, on paper, let's just say everything works out perfectly, right? You are still going to have people that feel like they lost what the game they liked along the way, and that's just the nature of things, and it's tough. Like, it's hard enough to get companies and developers to a place where they're comfortable enough in changing and adding to that degree. It's another entirely when you have a split player base like that. It's just the only real recourse is to really just expand without changing too much. I don't know. It's tough and it varies from game to game, but I think one of the biggest problems is going to be what's it called? I think the biggest issue is the fact that what was I going to say? One of the biggest issues
well,
Destiny has leading to this point is that they've sunset and vaulted a lot of content. So it's like
yeah,
after a history of doing that leading into a change, like a lot of players, you're just going to alienate a lot of players that like the core
yeah,
function and just want more of that,
yeah. I completely agree. The last thing I'll say about Destiny, actually, last two things that I'll say about Destiny. One, this is a band-aid that they had to have ripped, that they were going to have to rip off eventually, and I'm just glad they're doing it now.
Mm.
And it's a necessary change, in my opinion. Number two, one of the YouTubers that I follow, like specifically for Destiny, had this analogy, which I actually completely agree with. Like, let's say you own a house, right? And
Mm-hmm.
every year someone comes around and decides to make a change to the house, whether it's an addition or maintenance or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And usually, like for the past fucking 7 years, you've had additions to the house every year. Like the guy comes around and he adds a game room, and the next year he comes around and he adds a pool, and the next year he comes around and he, adds an extension to the house or whatever. But this year he's going to come around and he's going to say, "Look, I'm going to like go over your whole home with a fine-tooth comb, make sure that the electrical system is working, make sure the plumbing is working, make sure the water is working, like all this shit, and like I'm going to replace it with updated systems and just like the right, like up to code essentially."
Mm-hmm.
That is what Bungie is doing with Destiny right now. Like they're not giving us anything terribly new. They are going under the hood and changing things and fixing things that need to be changed and fixed in order for this game to survive long term. Now, I'm not the same type of no life Destiny player that I was a couple years ago, but I'm still going to play the expansion when it comes out because I will eventually have to see for myself. But again, I think that all these changes are necessary, and if they didn't rip the band-aid off now, it's going to be like 2 or 3 years down the road, and it was never going to be unanimously liked, and this was always so.
Yeah.
It is what it is. People are going to be pissed about it, but it's got to be done. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, we'll definitely we'll see what happens with that. Like, it would be tricky if the game was just on the up and up in general. It's even
Yeah,
trickier where it's just like the game as is, as it's been fading, so to speak, and it's like this kind of thing could just ruin whatever goodwill is left, or it could revitalize it in a way that gets people, on board again. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that was pretty much what I wanted to end my list of stories with, because that was always going to be like a kind of a rant on my part, so I wanted to save it for the end. But that was pretty much all I got for this week.
Yeah, that's pretty much that's pretty much all I had too. There are some other things worth talking about that'll probably are currently developing, I would say, and we'll probably have like a much larger thing to talk about next time. So like one of the things that I just saw you post in there, like has a bit more going on behind it. So we'll say that next week. I guess what I'll end it on is Sony and Microsoft have both been talking about new consoles, or like they're in the teasing process.
Yeah.
And obviously it's way too early to say anything, right? Because it's just heads at the studio saying, they're not even saying like the next console is right around the corner. They're saying like we are looking ahead of the current layout and stuff like that, right? And it's so I would say I had said for a while, I'm like, oh, maybe holiday season 2025. I think it's going to be later than that. It's probably going to be, probably won't be hearing about these until maybe Gamescom next year, which I think Microsoft said they're going to be.
I'm okay with that.
Less than that. Yeah, I mean, we're not in any rush. I mean, the only thing I'll say about it is with both of the companies involved, because you had Microsoft talking about it. It's like I'm a bit more positive with Microsoft because it's basically them once again soft confirming they intend to stick it out at least one more generation, which they're kind of obligated to. I'm hoping,
well, especially now with the Ally.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's just a matter of what shape and form that console's going to take. With Sony, I gotta say, balls on them for talking about new consoles when they basically never started the fucking generation. It's like Microsoft isn't coming out. Microsoft had a few good showings, and then eventually they're making games for all the consoles. So like it's kind of like softens what punches they have to throw out, right? But it's like Sony is just huffing their own farts with a lot of this stuff, because it's like they make a handful of they make less quality first party products than Nintendo does, but then eventually like they just put them on the PC anyway. My understanding, and we've talked about this before, is that Sony, this is like their most profitable console generation ever. To the tune of like additional billions. I think when the dust settles on that, we're gonna find out a couple like things aren't above the board with that. I have a feeling like there's probably gonna be some shenanigans, because they're still like the PlayStation 4 is still getting games consistently in a lot of cases. So I have a feeling they might be fudging the numbers a little bit with that kind of stuff. I also think that they also, just because of the fact that Microsoft really isn't competing, they got a lot of extra revenue on third parties. Like with anything, especially like we're talking about Sony, the company that like mysteriously found new PlayStation 2 sales when the Switch 1 surpassed it as the best console selling console ever. So like there's some fudge numbers there that we won't really see until probably the PlayStation 6 is out and about, right?
Yeah,
so,
probably.
I mean, I don't want to do like a whole post-mortem on the current generation, but I will say it has been a pretty disappointing generation.
It feels like the current generation is like just getting started now based on the games that have been released. Like it's not, there's not been any like serious banger that's come out that's like defined this generation of consoles. It just hasn't happened.
The most you could say is like Claire Obscure, but that's like,
but even
like
that is
like
it's not
like
it was, it's not. The game was great. Don't get me wrong, and I didn't even play through it, but I know it was like this masterpiece of a fucking RPG.
Yeah.
But that's one game in the past what 6 years of this generation. Like that's insane.
And it's not, and it goes beyond that. I'm not going to judge last generation for this generation and vice versa, but it's basically like we've gotten like a handful of extraordinary titles in like the last two console generations. This one feels even like it's almost like if it was one long petering out period, and that's where we are. And it's like, I hope
this generation
that,
is the catalyst behind me moving to PC.
Yeah,
there's like nothing going on console.
Yeah, and it's what I said very early on. I've said it to you in general, just as the years have gone on, but very early on when we started podcasting again, I basically like, you don't want to see the kind of desolate wasteland when like the consoles just aren't competing with each other. It's like it must be complete bliss to just only play Nintendo shit, because like they're the only ones that get consistently treated well. You know, like
Yeah.
say what you will about it. Like I fucking loved Mario Odyssey when I played it. I was perfectly fine getting a deluxe version of Mario Kart 8 because that game is phenomenal. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is always a good time. The Fire Emblem games have been consistently good aside from their fucking atrocious translation. Like, you know, I was not keen on the new style of Zelda, but it's just like if you love that, you're covered.
You're eating good, yeah.
Yeah, they worked with Koei Tecmo to have their own branch of Warriors games based on Nintendo properties. You got some good Metroid games, 2D and 3D coming out. Even Wario got a new game. It's just like Nintendo is the only one participating, and it's because they're in their own little world, and it's fine. And it's funny because while all this shit's going on, the guy that's one of the leads at Sony said something like he's just like, or no, it was what was it, the former guy, what's his name again? I always forget his name. Was it Yoshida, the former PlayStation guy? He said something like, I have huge respect for Nintendo, but I hope they graduate to more mature consoles. And I'm just like, more mature systems. And I'm like, first of all, they started succeeding when they started doing their own thing, because it's like, I like the GameCube, but it was a very, you know, they very much lost in that generation, I would say, if you had to choose winners and losers. But I loved my GameCube, don't get me wrong. The Wii, the Switch, this new Switch 2, very successful stuff for them. They faltered a little bit with the Wii U, and I think the Switch 2 isn't necessarily selling as well as they would like, even though it's still selling very well. It's just like them not competing, them not trying to punch up to hardware capabilities, and them just sticking with their own first-party games has done wonders for them. Like, this guy, head in the clouds, you know, and I guess he can afford to be that way because he's not involved anymore. But yeah, so I guess basically, you know, wet fart of a generation. I really hope things turn around. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be overnight, and I'm not fully convinced this next generation has what it takes. I'm curious to see where they go with this, because like Sony can only coast on like no competition for so long, especially if Xbox is going to come around with like an open ecosystem. Nintendo's more than happy doing their own shit on the side, and PC gaming is looking, you know, a lot of people say like it's the rise of a new generation of PC gaming. I'm not convinced in that. It's still far too confusing for the average consumer. It'll never take off in that way unless you kill consoles altogether. But it's just like, man, gaming is just once again in a tight spot. And I say that, you know, knowing that there've been plenty of really cool games I've played. It's not like we're still a long way, man. I tell you, that last golden age, it petered out completely in 2012, and it's just been moving spiraling for a while. And I'm not like, back in the day, I had some kind of hope. It's just like, oh, new consoles are coming around, new hardware, we're gonna see some shit. But it's just that there's so much clutter and bloat, and at every single level, that it's just, I'm not like, there's just so many issues that are just not going to be fixed overnight.
Yeah, but we'll see. I mean, still a long way to go.
Of course.
But I think that's pretty much it for us for tonight. If you're still listening, then thank you. This is episode 61 of the Pregame Network podcast, and yeah, be back next week, same time, same topics. We're just like, you know, I don't know. I kind of hit a wall to close this out.
I got you.
But thank you for listening, and we will see everybody next week. Bye.